I'm Michael Bungay-Stanier. This is Change Signal, the podcast where we cut through the blather, the BS, and the noise to find the good stuff that works in change. Now, if you're a transformational leader seeking modern change mastery, this will be your favorite podcast. Now, this is one of my In the Wild episodes. It's when I grab someone I admire while I'm out and about and we have a useful conversation. And what that means is you're going to hear all sorts of sounds in the background. There's birds, there's sirens, there's the whole London cacophony. So when my journey in change management started many years ago, the catalyst was when working for an innovation company, I was like, why did none of our ideas survive? They go into an organization and they die. So I joined a small change management consultancy. And one of my first bosses, and certainly my major teacher in that space, was Kate Lye. She has a great gift for being in the boots of somebody who is leading change. And she is a performance partner to CEOs. That's what the work she does now, helping them with the complex, messy, hard stuff about shepherding an organization as it changes and transforms. So there's no better person to have a quick and dirty conversation with. And we're in Kate's extraordinary walled garden in her backyard. So the sun is shining. She's drinking something sparkling and delicious. I'm not, because I'm underprepared. But this is going to be a wonderful chat. So Kate, welcome.
Thank you. Lovely.
Part of why I think this is a great conversation is because I've seen you lead change teams internally. I've seen you be a change management consultant and lead change teams around that. And I know now you work almost exclusively at that C-suite senior level. Knowing how proximate you are to the CEOs and their like, what does a CEO need to know these days about their role in any change or transformation that an organization might be going through?
It's interesting. One of the things that got me interested in that was when you and I were working on change integration, merger programs together.
Right.
The number of times I would be taken to one side by CEOs saying, so what do I need to do?
Right.
What's my role in this?
Right.
Beyond being a figurehead, a voice piece, saying sort of big headlines for it. How can I be actually helpful in this? So what's the challenge in this for you is a question that I think every CEO needs to answer for themselves in detail, and every executive team.
Right.
And if I were running a change project now, I would put that on the table as the start of a conversation, because leaders are part of the problem and part of the solution.
Yeah.
And there was some very nice work done by Egon Zehnder about 3 years ago about business transformation, where most CEOs were saying, we couldn't transform the business until we transformed ourselves.
Right. That's so interesting.
It required us to think, be, and lead differently versus just tell other people what was going to be different.
It reminds me, this is a bit of a professional highlight of mine, was I was coaching the head of sales for Microsoft in front of 3,000 salespeople in their Las Vegas. Pressure. Exactly. So, and I'd never met Jean-Philippe before. I mean, we chatted once or twice on Zoom, but this is our first in-person thing. We hadn't prepared anything because that's the nature of a coaching conversation. And the question I asked him was, so what's the real challenge here for you in the context of going through Microsoft's big cultural transformation? And his first 5 goes at it were kind of executive, we need to do this and we need to do that. And I just go, but for you, Jean-Philippe, what's the challenge here for you in this?
Yeah.
And it became this very personal thing around a transformation, a behavioral transformation he needed to work through. And he still talks about it as a pivotal moment.
Wonderful.
The people in the sales force talk about it as a pivotal moment around change in an organization. It was that moment of understanding and accepting a personal need to change to be able to lead an organizational level of change. How do you influence and persuade your senior leaders to do that work? Because I can imagine a lot of them are like, look, change is great and I think my people should definitely go through it, but being who I am today got me where I am today. Why would I go through the painful process of needing to shift and change?
Well, just keep doing what you're doing. You know, one of the things I point out to people a lot is that a lot of the activities around change can encourage executives to play that expert role,
Right.
which is fundamentally unhelpful. So you pay McKinsey to come in and do a £2 million strategy review, and everyone sits back and is strategic and looks at the data, and that's not where the messy stuff is.
Right.
The messy stuff is once you've taken decisions from that, and then you start backsliding and compromising. The question isn't around, do I really need to change or not? It's about, where are we likely to trip up? It's doing a pre-mortem first, isn't it?
Right.
Knowing what we know about this organisation that you've led for X years, how do we kid ourselves that we're doing work when we're not, when it's actually really sophisticated work avoidance? I think most strategy days are really sophisticated forms of work avoidance.
I love that.
Because they never say, so what does this new strategy, this change program, what does this require us to do differently as leaders?
Right. What I'm hearing is, it's not just how do we as an organisation need to be doing things different, how will we collude with our own failure, but particularly at a senior level, how will we as a senior team absolutely come round to recommitting to the status quo, which is so comfortable and so known and so familiar, even when it's stressful.
And a great thing for maybe a great tool I've used before is put up the standard role of leaders during change.
Right.
This is what you generally will be asked to do.
Right.
You know, you're not looking to be unhelpful.
Right.
But and that's the, do the launch, do the big narrative, turn up, do the road shows, keep banging the drum. You're being the front man for change. That's well and good, but what else? What else? What can you do in a change process that other people can't? What is the power of you paying real attention to nitty gritty things where you're going backwards? Because it's not all going to be linear. So you get to play this sort of cha-cha cheerleader role. It's just the worst use of some of the smartest brains in the business.
Right. So if you're just wheeling on a senior leader going, here are your talking points, bang the usual kind of jazz handing kind of things around why change is good and why we're all in it together and why this is going to be amazing. That is just it's like a gross misuse of a CEO's expertise and wisdom and brilliance. But so much more comfortable if you're that CEO. You're like, I can do that. I can do that in my sleep. So this is great. And I've sort of outsourced responsibility for the change somewhere else.
It's launched.
I did my bit. I launched it and I gave a speech.
Guess what? You then get back to the status quo of people come and report back to you on how it's going.
Right.
So it's no longer you. You're not on the hook.
Right.
Other people telling you how it's going. Most change programs don't come to a formal end. They just whimper
they do.
And die out.
They do.
And most executive teams are so bored about them. And I think it's a really good thing to watch for and be sort of on the ear of a CEO about, this is no longer your number one priority.
Right.
Did you notice that happen?
Right.
So what does that mean? Are you at a point where this should slip to your second or third? And what does that feel like for the rest of the organisation? Because they will clock it straight away.
That's really wise. Kate is really one of the best people I know to work with CEOs and senior leaders as more than a coach, really as a performance partner. You'll find out more about her services at her website, thesavoirgroup.com. That's the Savoir, SAVOIR, group.com. It feels like part of the work you might be doing with your CEOs and senior executives is building their change capacity. What are the skills or the behaviours required for an increased change capacity?
So, it sounds basic, but it's not. I think the conversation that doesn't happen every time you reflect in of, okay, we're 3 months in, we're 6 months in, we're a year in, is the ability to pause as an executive team and say, okay, we've heard that. What is required from us as leaders now to help get this flywheel moving again, intervene, go and show interest, add insight? What's our role now?
Right.
Because it sure as hell isn't more of the cheerleader role or more of the reporting back.
I love that. So there's this sort of sense that your role will emerge and become more obvious as the change process emerges and kind of finds its way through.
And you should be asking your change team, where is it you need us to intervene? Where is it most stuck? Where, executive pressure would be helpful.
Yeah. What's the wisdom, what's the guidance you give a change leader these days, particularly around how to manage those senior folks?
So I would say, don't do anything. Don't do anything before you have a conversation with your CEO about contracting.
Right.
About you are giving me explicit rights, permission to come and call you when any of the following things happen.
Oh, I love that.
The very likely following things to happen. Once you've contracted with the CEO, you need to do that contracting with the executive team, saying, here are the 10 most likely things that are going to happen because we know we've done them previously, or we know that that's our sort of preferred way of getting out of doing work. You are asking me to call you on this. And then I think you need to contract on, I don't know how I'm going to need you as this rolls out. Can we have that conversation once a quarter?
Right.
And third thing, contract, give feedback to them on how well they're leading the change.
Got it. And I love this idea of contracting. I mean, it makes me think of the Peter Block stuff around social contracting, around that, which I kind of played around with in the How to Work with Almost Anyone book as well, which is like, how are we going to work well together around this so that we can bring out each other's best?
And what do I need from you versus vice versa? Because most executive teams, their key muscles around their functional expertise. It's not the system.
Right.
It's not the system.
That's such a big insight. We tend to look at that C-suite going, you understand the system, but that's a lie.
They spend most of their time.
I've been in sales all my life. That's why I'm the SVP of sales. I've been in R&D all my life. That's why the SVP of R&D. I don't get the system. Right.
I know how to do it in finance. I'll take care of my shop. You're asking them to say, in order to change the system, what is the technical change, the cultural, the leadership, the behavioural, the communication, the process? What are all of the pieces of this? And how do we look at this and help evolve it?
How do I get the courage to have that conversation really early on in the change process? Because there's a way that you can go, look, I just don't know yet what's going to happen or how these things are going to play out. It's too soon for me to have that conversation with an executive.
And I think it goes back to your question about let's stay in the comfort zone. So the comfort zone is you go away and come up with this plan. We've told you the issues. You come up with that. Come and front it up and
sign it off. I'll give the talk. I'll light a firework.
And then you tell us how it's going
right.
until it just sort of peters out.
I love that, because you've just encapsulated in a sentence the deeply disheartening experience of so many change processes, which is like, okay, I've been told what to do by the CEO, they've signed off, they're going to do a token of bit of work, and we'll just run this until it kind of disappears in the slow grind of mediocrity.
We will declare victory when one of our clients says this.
It reminds me of the Daniel Gilbert work from Stumbling into Happiness, where he just talks about the importance of beginnings and endings. And also, of course, Katie Milkman's work is similar to this, which is you have to create beginnings and you have to create endings so people know that we're on to the next thing, or they're able to put something aside rather than it lingering on forever.
And, you know, death to a change program is everyone is heartily bored of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. They should invent a boredom-o-meter where they're like, we're just going to check everybody's level of boredom with this place, because if everybody's still bored, something's gone wrong. Now, I'm going to give this episode a 0 on the boredom-o-meter. It is honestly one of the great pleasures of life, talking to Kate about this sort of stuff. We do it all the time. And I'm so glad to have captured one of our conversations for you. Thanks for all you do to spread the word about this podcast. I mean, I am looking for transformational leaders like you who are seeking modern change mastery. Now, I love a review, obviously, but I'm most enjoying seeing people posting about the pod on LinkedIn and tagging me so I can say hello and thank you. And also, thank you for doing the work. I am glad you're here.